AITA for not defending my wife after her friend exposed her at dinner? It was Saturday night, and we were at a trendy steakhouse downtown. My wife, Jessica, had invited 3 of her closest friends for what she called a girls' night out that somehow included me. I should have seen the red flags when she insisted I come, especially after the cold and distant way she had been acting for weeks. The conversation started casually enough, stories from work, neighborhood gossip, the usual chatter. But then it turned to relationships, and that is when Jessica decided to throw me under the bus in the most humiliating way possible. "You know what my biggest problem is?" she announced, taking a sip of her Chardonnay and looking directly at her friends. "I'm married to the laziest lover on the planet." The table fell silent. I felt my jaw tighten, but I held my composure. Her friends looked uncomfortable, shifting in their seats and avoiding my gaze. But Jessica was not done. "Seriously," she continued, her voice rising. "He expects me to do all the work while he just lies there like a dead fish. No effort, no passion, nothing. It's like being married to a piece of furniture." I could feel the heat building in my chest, but I remained still. This was not the place for a confrontation, and she knew it. She was counting on my restraint, using it as a weapon against me. That was when her friend, Megan, a woman who had been through 2 divorces and was not afraid to speak her mind, decided to step in. "Hold on a minute," Megan said, setting her fork down. "Before you drag your husband through the mud like that, maybe you should take a look in the mirror." Jessica's eyes narrowed. "I'm sorry, I've seen this pattern before," Megan went on, completely unfazed by the attention. "Lazy wives create lazy lovers. When was the last time you made an effort? When was the last time you initiated anything? When was the last time you got dressed up just for him? Or showed him that you actually desire him?" The other 2 friends looked like they wanted to vanish. Jessica's face turned crimson, and I could see her hands shaking with rage. "How dare you?" she started, but Megan cut her off. "No. How dare you embarrass your husband in public like that? If you have problems in your bedroom, you solve them at home, like adults. You do not humiliate the man who puts a roof over your head and food on your table." Jessica slammed her hand on the table, making the glasses jump. "You have no idea what you're talking about. You can't even keep a man, so do not you dare lecture me about my marriage." The restaurant had gone quiet around us. Other diners were starting to stare. Megan just smiled and shook her head. "That is exactly the attitude I'm talking about. You got comfortable, lazy, and entitled. And now you're surprised when your husband does not want to chase after someone who treats him like dirt." Jessica shot up from her chair so fast, it almost toppled over. "We're leaving. Now." I looked at Megan and gave a slight nod. "Thank you," I said softly. She knew exactly what I meant. The car ride home was the longest 20 minutes of my life. Jessica sat in the passenger seat, fuming and muttering under her breath about how humiliated she was, how Megan had no right to speak to her like that, how I should have defended her. But I did not say a word, not a single one. When we pulled into the garage, she finally exploded. "Are you just going to sit there like the pitiful excuse for a man that you are? Or are you going to say something?" That is when I turned off the engine, looked directly into her eyes, and spoke for the first time since we left the restaurant. "We need to talk inside." The tone of my voice must have surprised her, because she actually went quiet for a moment. But as we walked to the front door, I could see her gearing up for round 2. She had no idea what was coming. The moment we stepped into the house, her assault began. "I cannot believe you let that woman disrespect me like that. You just sat there like a coward while she tore me apart in front of everyone." I walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and took a long sip. She followed me, her voice getting shriller with every second. "Are you even listening to me? Your wife was just humiliated in public, and you're acting like nothing happened." I placed the glass in the sink and turned to face her. The look in my eyes must have had an effect, because she took a step back. "You want to talk about humiliation?" I said, my voice dangerously calm. "Let's talk about what you did to me tonight." "What did I do?" I told the truth. "You called me a lazy lover in front of your friends. You compared me to a piece of furniture. You turned our private life into public entertainment." I took a step toward her. "That ends today." She crossed her arms defensively. "Well, maybe if you put some actual effort into our relationship, I would not have anything to complain about." "Effort?" I let out a laugh, but there was no humor in it. "So, when was the last time you got dressed up for me? When was the last time you touched me without me having to initiate it? When was the last time you acted like you actually wanted to be my wife instead of just tolerating my presence? Her mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. She was not expecting me to fight back. That's different. No, it is not different. It is exactly what Megan was saying. You got comfortable. You stopped trying. You turned our bedroom into a checklist where I'm expected to perform while you lie there ticking off boxes in your head. How dare you? How dare I what? Tell the truth? The same truth you had no problem sharing with strangers over dinner. She tried to switch tactics, her voice softening, becoming manipulative. Honey, you know I did not mean it like that. I was just venting with the girls. You know how we talk. No. I held up my hand. Do not you dare try to minimize it now. You meant every single word, and we both know it. Her fake sweetness evaporated instantly. Fine. Yes, I meant it. You are lazy. You do not court me anymore. You do not make me feel special. You just expect me to be available whenever you want. Available? I looked at her in disbelief. Like a wife should be for her husband? Like how I'm available for you every single day when you need something fixed, or paid for, or solved. That is your obligation as a man. And being intimate with your husband is your obligation as a wife. But you've somehow convinced yourself you're doing me a favor every time we're together. She was getting frustrated because her usual tactics were not working. You do not understand what it is like to be a woman. We need an emotional connection first. Emotional connection, I nodded slowly. Like the connection you just obliterated by humiliating me in public? Like the connection you've been poisoning for months with your constant criticism and your attitude? I do not criticize you. Oh, right. You just call me the laziest lover on the planet in front of 3 women I have to see at neighborhood barbecues and school events. But sure, you do not criticize me. She realized she was losing ground and pulled out her final weapon, the tears. I just feel so disconnected from you. I feel like we're roommates instead of lovers. I want the passion back in our marriage. Passion is a two-way street, Jessica. You cannot kill it on one side and expect it to flourish on the other. So what are you saying? That this is all my fault? I'm saying Megan was right. You became lazy and entitled. You expect me to court you like we're still dating while you've stopped making any effort whatsoever. That is not true. When was the last time you initiated intimacy? And I do not mean lying there and saying, okay, if you want. When was the last time you genuinely wanted me? A long silence stretched between us. She could not answer because we both knew the truth. That is what I thought, I said. You want passion? You want romance? You want effort? Then start showing me you're worth the effort. Because right now, you're acting like someone who takes everything and gives nothing in return. I give plenty of things. You give complaints. You give criticism. You give attitude. You do not give affection, or appreciation, or desire. And then you wonder why I stopped chasing someone who clearly does not want to be caught. Her tears were real now, but they were no longer for manipulation. They were tears of frustration and dawning realization. I do not know how to fix this, she whispered. That is the first honest thing you've said all night. I headed for the stairs. But here is what is going to happen. No more public humiliations. No more comparing our marriage to your friends' relationships. No more expecting me to be your emotional punching bag while you give me nothing. Where are you going? To bed. Alone. Because I'm done being treated like a nuisance in my own marriage. She stood there in the kitchen, finally understanding that the dynamic had shifted completely, and I was just getting started. The next morning, I woke up at my usual time and went through my routine as if nothing had happened. Shower, coffee, breakfast. She came downstairs in her robe, looking like she had not slept a wink. Good morning, she said tentatively, testing the waters. I nodded, continuing to read the news on my phone. No kiss, no good morning, beautiful. No asking how she slept. Just a simple acknowledgement of her existence. She poured herself some coffee and sat across from me at the kitchen table. I could feel her gaze on me, waiting for me to break the silence. But I had learned something important the night before. I had been doing all the emotional heavy lifting in this marriage for a very long time. We should talk about what happened, she finally said. What is there to talk about? You made your feelings clear. I made mine clear. Now we see what happens. What does that mean? I looked up from my phone. It means I'm tired of being your emotional support system while you treat me like your personal disappointment. She tried to take my hand across the table, but I pulled it back and went back to my phone. Do not be like that. We can work through this. I'm not being like that. This is me, no longer chasing someone who has made it perfectly clear she does not want to be caught. The following days fell into the same pattern. I was polite but distant. I stopped asking about her day, complimenting her outfits, or trying to make conversation at dinner. I was not rude or angry, just indifferent. And it was driving her insane. She started wearing different clothes around the house, tighter tops, shorter shorts. She would bend over in front of me to pick up things that did not need picking up. She would brush against me in the hallway when there was plenty of room to pass. I noticed all of it, but I did not react. Thursday night, she made my favorite meal, steak, mashed potatoes, the works. She even lit candles and put on some quiet music. This looks great, I said, cutting into the steak. What is the occasion? Do I need an occasion to cook for my husband? You have not made this meal in over a year. She looked hurt. I cook all the time. You heat up pre-packaged meals and call it cooking. This is actual cooking. We ate in relative silence. She kept looking at me with hopeful eyes, but I did not give her the praise and attention she was fishing for. After dinner, while I cleaned the kitchen, she stayed in the living room. Normally, she would disappear upstairs or get lost in her phone. Tonight, she was making herself visible. Want to watch a movie? She asked when I came into the living room. Sure. She moved close to me on the couch, resting her hand on my leg. I did not pull away, but I did not respond either. I might as well have been a mannequin. Halfway through the movie, she tried a different approach. I've been thinking about what you said the other night. And you're right about some things. I have not been as present as I should be. I kept my eyes on the TV. If you say so, I want to change that. I want us to be close again. Okay. She was getting frustrated with my one-word answers. Can you at least look at me when I'm trying to have a serious conversation? I turned to face her. I'm looking. What did you want to say? I want to fix this. I want to fix us. And what exactly do you think is broken? You know what is broken. You've been giving me the cold shoulder for days. I have not been cold. I've been respectful. I say good morning. I eat dinner with you. I'm watching a movie with you. What more do you want? I want you to want me again. There it was. The truth she had been dancing around all week. You want me to do what? Criticize you? Insult you in front of your friends? Treat intimacy like a chore you have to check off your to-do list? That is not fair. What is not fair is expecting me to desire someone who has made it abundantly clear that being desired by me is a burden. She moved closer, her hand sliding up my thigh. It is not a burden. I want you to desire me. I gently removed her hand. You want me to chase you? That is different. What is wrong with wanting to be courted? Nothing. But you cannot run away from someone and then complain when they stop chasing you. She was quiet for a long moment. So what happens now? Now you decide what kind of wife you want to be, and I will decide what kind of husband you deserve. What is that supposed to mean? I stood up and headed for the stairs. It means I am not going to beg someone to want me who has already decided I'm not worth wanting. That is not what I decided. I stopped and turned back to her. Then show me. But do not expect me to pretend everything is fine while you figure it out. I'm done being your safety net while you treat me like your plan B. That night, she knocked on the door of the guest room where I had been sleeping. Can I come in? It is your house, too. She sat on the edge of the bed, looking smaller than I had seen her in years. I do not know how to do this, she said softly. Do what? Be the wife you want me to be. I do not want you to be anything. I want you to want to be something. She was crying now, but these were different tears. Not manipulative or frustrated, they were tears of fear. I'm scared. I'm scared I've already lost you. You have not lost me, but you've definitely lost the version of me that was willing to accept crumbs while giving you a feast. She reached for my hand, and this time, I did not pull away. Can you teach me how to fix this? I cannot teach you how to want your husband, Jessica. That is something you have to figure out for yourself. She squeezed my hand. Will you be patient with me while I try? I will match whatever energy you give me. No more, no less. She nodded and stood up to leave. At the door, she turned. For what it is worth. I do want you. I just forgot how to show it. Then you had better remember quickly, because I'm not going to stay married to someone who treats me like an obligation. After she left, I lay in bed, thinking about how much the entire dynamic had shifted in just 1 week. She was finally starting to understand that she actually had something to lose. The weekend brought a different version of my wife. She woke up early, made coffee, and actually sat down to have breakfast with me instead of rushing off to get ready for her day. I called Megan yesterday, she said, nervously stirring her coffee. I raised an eyebrow. The same Megan you called a bitter, divorced woman who cannot keep a man. She had the decency to look ashamed. I owed her an apology. She was right about a lot of things. Like how I've been treating you like you're lucky to have me, instead of the other way around. It was progress, but I was not ready to celebrate. Words are easy. Actions are what matter. What else did you talk about? She told me about her first marriage. How did that end? She looked down at her hands. Her husband left her because she did to him exactly what I've been doing to you. She took him for granted. Expected him to keep chasing someone who was no longer worth courting. I took a sip of my coffee, waiting for her to continue. She said something that really hit me. She said that men do not leave women they feel desired by. They leave women who make them feel like a nuisance. Megan is a smart woman. She also said you probably talk to other guys about this stuff. That most married men do when their wives start acting. Well, like I've been acting. She is not wrong. I've had conversations with guys from work, from the gym, neighbors. The same stories come up over and over again. Wives who stop trying, who treat their husbands like ATMs with legs, who save their best selves for everyone except the man they married. What are those conversations like? She asked. You do not want to know. No, I do. Because understanding how other men see this situation might help me understand why I cannot go back to how things were. She looked at me with genuine curiosity mixed with fear. A colleague at my firm. His wife has not initiated intimacy in 4 years. For years. But she expects him to be romantic and passionate on demand. That is different. Another guy I know, his wife spends more time getting ready for girls' night out than she is getting ready for him in the last 2 years combined. She was quiet now, seeing where this was going. And then there is the guy whose wife called him sexually inadequate in front of her book club. You know what happened to him? What? He filed for divorce the next week. Her face went pale. You're not. I'm not him. But I understand him. Because there is a limit to how much disrespect a man can take before he decides that being alone is better than being constantly reminded that he is not good enough. She reached across the table and took my hand. I do not think you're not good enough. I never meant to make you feel that way. But you did. For months. You made me feel like I was failing as a husband, all while you were failing as a wife. I know. I see that now. Do you really see it? Or do you just see that your safety net is gone and now you're scared? She was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. Both. I'm scared. But I also see how terribly I've treated you. How selfish I've been. Selfish is expecting your husband to court someone who acts like being courted is a household chore. I do not act like that. I pulled out my phone and opened the calendar app. Show me the last time you dressed up for me. And I do not mean just putting on clean clothes. I mean actually getting ready because you wanted me to find you attractive. She looked at the phone, her fingers scrolling back through the weeks and months. You dress up for work events, for nights out with your friends, for everyone but your husband. That is because we're comfortable with each other. Comfortable is just another word for lazy. You savor a game for people you're trying to impress, and you give me whatever is left over. She put the phone down and covered her face with her hands. I did not even realize I was doing that. That is the entire problem. You stopped thinking about what I might want or need because you just assumed I would always be here, no matter how you treated me. Is not that what marriage is supposed to be? Unconditional love. Love might be unconditional, but respect and desire sure as hell are not. She looked at me, tears welling in her eyes. So what do I do? How do I fix this? Start by asking yourself one question. If we were dating today, would your behavior be enough to keep me interested? What do you mean? I mean, if I could walk away tomorrow with no consequences, is the way you're acting enough to make me want to stay? The question hung in the air between us. We both knew the answer. I see other women flirt with you, she said softly. At parties, at neighborhood barbecues, even at the grocery store. And I always thought it was funny, because you're married to me. Like they were wasting their time. Maybe they were. Or maybe they see something in you that I forgot how to see. What does that mean? It means other women see a great catch. My own wife sees a guarantee. She was crying now, but I did not comfort her. She needed to feel the full weight of what she had done to our marriage. I do not want to lose you, she whispered. Then stop acting like someone who is trying to. She wiped her eyes and looked directly at me. What if I cannot change? What if I'm too set in my ways? Then you will discover what it is like to be single again, and I will discover what it is like to be with someone who actually wants me. The words hit her like a physical blow, but they needed to be said. Is that what you want? To be with someone else? I want to be with my wife. But if my wife does not want to be a wife, then yes, I would rather be with someone who does. She stood up abruptly and started pacing the kitchen. This is crazy. We're talking about ending our marriage because I have not been romantic enough. We're talking about ending our marriage because you stopped being a partner and became a critic. I am not a critic. You literally called me a lazy lover in front of a table full of people. If that is not criticism, what is? She stopped pacing and leaned against the counter, defeated. I said a stupid thing. You said what you believe, and now you're dealing with the consequences. So what happens now? I stood up and put my empty coffee cup in the sink. Now, you decide if you want to be married to me, or if you just want to be married in general. What is the difference? Being married to me means making an effort to be the kind of woman I want to come home to. Being married in general means expecting me to be grateful for whatever crumb of attention you decide to throw my way. I headed for the door, then turned back. For what it is worth, I hope you choose the first option, but I'm not going to wait around forever while you make up your mind. As I left the kitchen, I could hear her crying again. But this time, they were the kind of tears that might actually lead to change. Monday morning arrived with a change I did not expect. She was awake before me, dressed in a way I had not seen in months. Not just clean clothes, but an actual outfit, hairstyled, light makeup. A real effort. You look beautiful, I said neutrally as I poured my coffee. Thank you. She seemed nervous, as if waiting for more compliments that did not come. I ate my breakfast and got ready for work without the usual ceremony. No long goodbye, no extended conversation. Just the basics and out the door. But when I got home that night, something was different. The house smelled like real food, not microwaved leftovers. She was in the kitchen, wearing a dress I had bought her last year that she had never worn. How was your day? She asked. And for the first time in months, she seemed genuinely interested in the answer. Exhausting. Long meeting with the Peterson account. But it went well. I gave her a brief rundown while she finished cooking. She listened, asked follow-up questions, and actually engaged with what I was saying. It felt strange after months of one-sided conversations where she would just scroll through her phone. Dinner was good, really good. She had put in the work, and it showed. This is delicious, I said, and I meant it. I'm glad you like it. After dinner, instead of vanishing, she helped me clean up. We worked side by side in the kitchen, and I caught her looking at me several times. Can I ask you a question? She said when we were done. Sure. When did you stop loving me? The question caught me off guard. Who said I stopped loving you? You barely touch me anymore. You do not compliment me. You do not seem to care if I'm in the same room or not. I leaned against the counter and looked at her. I love you, Jessica. But I stopped liking you. What is the difference? Love is what keeps you married. Liking is what makes you want to be married. She absorbed that for a moment. And what would it take to make you like me again? I cannot answer that for you. That is something you have to figure out on your own. She moved closer, close enough that I could smell her perfume, the same one she wore when we were dating. I miss you, she whispered. I'm right here. No, you're not. Your body is here, but you're not here with me. She was not wrong. I had built walls, creating emotional distance as a form of self-preservation. Can I show you something? She asked. What? She took my hand and led me to the living room. On the coffee table was a notebook, open to a page covered in her handwriting. What is this? I've been writing down things I used to do for you. Things I stopped doing. Things I want to start doing again. I scanned the list. It was longer than I expected and more detailed than I could have imagined. Some of these are from years ago, I observed. I know. I did not realize how much I had let slide until I started writing it all down. One item caught my eye. Tell him he looks handsome when he's leaving for work. You used to do that every morning, I said quietly. I know. I stopped because I thought it was silly. Like, you already knew you looked good. I never knew. I just hoped I did. She looked at me with something I had not seen in a long time. Vulnerability. I want to go back to being the wife you married. We cannot go back. We can only move forward. Then I want to be a better wife going forward than I ever was before. It was a nice sentiment, but I had heard promises before. Actions speak louder than words, I said. I know. That is why I'm not asking you to trust me or believe me or give me any credit for wanting to change. I'm just asking you not to give up on us while I prove it. That night, she did not try to seduce me or manipulate me into being intimate. Instead, she just sat next to me on the couch while I watched TV, not talking or demanding attention, just being present in a way she had not been for months. When I got up to go to bed, she did not follow or ask if she could join me. She just said, "Good night," and let me go. The next morning, fresh coffee was waiting for me with a note next to it. "Thank you for being patient with me while I remember how to be a wife." The gestures continued all week, mostly small things. She started asking about my day and actually listening to the answers. She put her phone away when we talked. She put effort into how she looked, not just for going out, but for staying in. Friday night, she suggested we go out for dinner. "Where do you want to go?" I asked. "To that steakhouse downtown, the one where we celebrated our first wedding anniversary. We have not been back there in years. We used to go all the time when we were newlyweds. But somehow we just stopped." Over dinner, she was different. Attentive, engaging, even flirty. She laughed at my jokes, asked about my work, and told stories about her day that were genuinely interesting. "You seem different," I said as we shared a dessert. "Different how?" "Like you're trying to impress me." "I am trying to impress you," she admitted. "Why?" "Because I want you to want to be married to me, not just be married to me." It was the first time she really seemed to grasp the distinction I had been trying to make. "And what if I decide I do not want to be married to you anymore?" The question hung between us like a dare. She looked me straight in the eye. "Then I will know I waited too long to start trying. But I would rather find that out giving it my all than giving up without a fight." When we got home, she did not assume the night would end in the bedroom. There was no manipulation, no pressure, no pouting. She just said good night and went upstairs, but she paused at the top of the landing. "I know I have a lot of work to do to earn back what I threw away. I just want you to know that I see it now. I see what I did, and I see what I need to do differently." "And what is that?" "I need to stop acting like I'm doing you a favor by being your wife and start acting like you're doing me a favor by being my husband." After she disappeared into her room, I stood at the bottom of the stairs for a long time. She was finally starting to understand the game she had been playing. More importantly, she was starting to understand that she was losing. 3 weeks had passed since that dinner, and the change in Jessica was undeniable. She was not just trying harder, she was becoming someone I genuinely wanted to spend time with again. Saturday morning, I woke up to the smell of pancakes and bacon. Real, from scratch cooking, not the frozen stuff she had been serving for months. When I came downstairs, she was in a summer dress I had never seen before, hair done, looking ready for a date. "Good morning, handsome," she said with a smile that felt real for the first time in ages. "Good morning. You're up early. I wanted to make you breakfast, like I used to." She had, back when we were newlyweds. Every Saturday morning had been an event. Fresh coffee, a big breakfast, the works. I had forgotten how much I missed that. As we ate, she brought up something that surprised me. "I ran into Megan at the grocery store yesterday. I looked up from my pancakes. How did that go?" "Better than I expected." She asked how we were doing, and I told her we were working on things. "And what did she say?" "She said you're a good man, and that I was smart to start fighting for you instead of against you." She is right about the fighting part. Jessica put down her fork and looked at me seriously. "I want to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest." "Okay. Do you think we can really fix this? Or are we just postponing the inevitable?" It was a fair question. The last few weeks had been promising, but she needed to know it was not just a temporary performance. "That depends on whether this new version of you is real, or if it is just an act to get things back to normal." "What if I told you this is not about going back to normal? What if normal was not good enough?" "I would say that sounds a lot like something the old you would say to manipulate me." She nodded, not offended by my skepticism. "Fair enough. Then let me show you instead of just telling you." That afternoon, she did something that caught me completely by surprise. She called her friends and canceled their girls' night. "Why?" I asked. "Because I would rather spend the night with my husband." "You do not have to cancel your plans for me. I'm not canceling them for you. I'm choosing you." That evening, instead of going out with her friends, she suggested we take a walk around the neighborhood. We talked about things we had not discussed in years. Our goals, our dreams, what we wanted our future to look like. "I realized something this week," she said as we sat on a bench in the local park. "What is that?" I've been treating our marriage like a participation trophy, like I deserve credit just for showing up. And now, I understand that marriage is something you have to earn every single day by being someone worth staying married to. When we got home, she did not immediately try to turn things physical. Instead, she asked if I wanted to watch a movie, and when I said yes, she curled up next to me on the sofa in a way that felt natural, not calculated. "Can I ask you one more thing?" she said during a commercial break. "Shoot. When you were giving me the cold shoulder those first couple of weeks, were you trying to hurt me?" "No. I was trying to protect myself." "From what?" "From continuing to invest in someone who was not investing back in me." She was quiet for a moment. "I get it now, and I get why you had to do it." "Why is that?" "Because it was the only way to make me see what I was about to lose." The next morning, she did something that proved to me this change was real. Instead of sleeping in like she usually did on Sundays, she got up with me and made coffee. "What is the plan for today?" she asked. "I was going to work on that project in the garage. Do you mind if I help?" I almost dropped my coffee mug. She had not shown the slightest interest in any of my projects for years. "You want to help me organize the garage?" "I want to spend time with you. The garage is just the place where you happen to be." We spent the morning working side by side, and for the first time in months, it felt like we were a team again. She did not complain about getting dirty. She did not check her phone every 5 minutes, and she did not act like she had somewhere better to be. "I owe you an apology," she said when we broke for lunch. "For what?" "For that night at the restaurant. For humiliating you. For treating our private life like entertainment for my friends." "You already apologized for that." "No, I made excuses for it. I blamed it on frustration, the wine, girl talk. But the truth is, I disrespected you because I had stopped seeing you as someone who deserved my respect. And now I see you as someone I'm lucky to have. Someone I have to win over every single day." That afternoon, as we were finishing up in the garage, she made a suggestion that shocked me. "I want to call my friends and apologize. All of them, not just Megan." "Why?" "For making them witnesses to my husband's humiliation. For putting them in that position." "You do not have to do that." "Yes, I do. Because if I'm serious about changing, I have to clean up the mess I made." She made the calls that night, and I could hear her side of the conversations. She did not make excuses or downplay what she had done. She took full responsibility and apologized sincerely. Later, as we were getting ready for bed, she said something that made me realize just how much she had truly changed. "I know you're still protecting yourself. I know you have not fully let me back in yet, and I do not blame you. I know I have to earn your trust back. But I want you to know that I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to keep being the wife you deserve until you believe she is here to stay. And that this is who I really am now. And if that takes months, then it will take months. If it takes years, it will take years. And if I decide it is too late?" She looked at me with complete sincerity. "Then at least I will know I gave everything I had to save the best thing that ever happened to me." 3 months later, we were back at the same steakhouse where it all began, but this time, it was just the two of us, celebrating our anniversary. "Do you remember what Megan said that night?" Jessica asked over dessert. "Lazy wives create lazy lovers." She was right. I created the very problem I was complaining about. She smiled and reached across the table to take my hand. "And now I understand that the woman who has a passionate, romantic, and devoted husband is the woman who makes him feel like a passionate, romantic, and devoted man." Looking at her across the table, dressed up for me, her attention focused entirely on me, making me feel like the most important person in her world, I realized something profound. She had not just saved our marriage, she had made it better than it had ever been. Because sometimes, a man has to be willing to walk away to show his wife just how much she has to lose. And sometimes, a woman has to be faced with losing everything to remember how much she has to fight for. In the end, we both won. It is funny how she loved calling her husband lazy in public, but she only discovered the value of effort when she realized the guarantee of his presence was gone. She called him a dead fish, a piece of furniture, an obligation, and then was shocked when he stopped acting like a dog begging for scraps of her attention. Comment: I think this story really highlights how crucial it is to protect your peace. Setting a boundary isn't about punishing someone else. It's about honoring yourself and what you deserve. It's also a reminder that we teach people how to treat us by the standards we uphold. Kindness should never require sacrificing your self-respect. True healing begins with honest communication, first with ourselves and then with others. Remember, you have the right to create a safe and respectful environment for yourself. You are not obligated to accept treatment that diminishes your worth. I hope you always choose the path that leads to your own well-being. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.